She slipped through the smallest hole imaginable, an invisible rip in the fabric of a seemingly ordinary day. Nicola Bulley was there 1 minute, living a working mother's familiar, multitasking life, walking the dog while taking a Teams call, and gone the next. How can a woman just vanish? Those are the words of the Guardian's Gabby Hinsliff, and she's certainly capable of some beautiful turn of phrase, but she dedicates just a single paragraph retelling the details of Nicola's story before going rhetorical. How can a woman just vanish? How can a woman just vanish? Don't just ask how a woman can vanish. Try to do the hard work of answering it. Look at the details. And instead, Hinsliff's article does the easier but less helpful thing, which is blaming those whose job it is to search for her. In my opinion, the Telegraph does a lot better in terms of this. There's an article that starts, flanked by his 2 spaniels in the Lancashire drizzle, Peter Slinger, a retired businessman now aged 86, is telling me how he used to swim in the River Wire as a boy. And this is what he said. He said, "We all did. Even now, I remember the strength of the currents. We could clamber up over the weir because we were strong lads, but if someone fell in and lost their bearings, it might be different." Is this what happened to Nicola Bulley? This is the question being asked up and down the country, nearly a month after the 45-year-old disappeared. That's a good article. That's useful information. That the Wire is a sneaky river, easy to underestimate. And isn't that what everyone has done? Perhaps we need more swimmers in the water. You actually had that in the Kylie Rodney case. You had people swimming along the edge of the reservoir. And if they had done that a bit more extensively, because those swimmers actually swam over the vehicle, if they'd done that more extensively, and they'd perhaps just imagined the vehicle might be turned on its side, they would have found Kylie. Swimmers would have found her. So perhaps we need more swimmers in the water. You also had a guy swimming and fishing out Kylie's laptop, right? Someone actually going into the water rather than looking from the outside in. So rather than boats, drones, scanners, reporters looking in from the outside, maybe we do need a few people going into the river, feeling what it's like, getting a sense of it, getting the real sense of that river. And so suddenly, just 3 weeks into the search for Nicola, it seems the search has gone from the search for Nicola, which isn't that why we're here? Isn't that what we are doing here? Nicola is still missing. It's gone from the search for Nicola to the search for who to blame and what to blame. Should we blame this? How about blaming that? Even the Prime Minister has decided the police should be blamed for using certain words. And I think an article has just come out on BBC where they are saying, the law enforcement are saying the criticism to the cops is unfair. That's from a former police boss. You've got the Prime Minister also blaming those whose job it is to search for Nicola, also blaming them. It's crazy to imagine that when Virginia Woolf went missing 82 years ago, they had a lot more to go on. They had footprints, a walking stick, Virginia Woolf's walking stick, leading up to the River Ouse, a couple of suicide notes, not just one, several. But none of the technology we have today, no drones, no rubber ducks, and yet there seemed to be more of a commitment to search for Virginia. Leonard, Virginia's husband, Leonard himself searched the river until it was dark, and in the end, Virginia was found washed up near Southeast by 3 children. That was March 28, 1941. There hasn't been much improvement in 82 years, has there? I don't think the problem here is technology. I think the problem here is our attitude. Before we get to the rest of this episode, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Welcome to the many of you who have subscribed. If you missed the live I did earlier, the first part of the live deals with another look at the river in a way we haven't before. So you don't have to watch the whole live, but watch the first couple of minutes to get a sense of the timeline and an aerial view of the park. And it really is worth looking at that from that perspective. If you're enjoying this episode, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button. And bear in mind, I'm going to be doing Van Gogh Letters, episode 35. at, I think, 7 or 8 a.m. UK time, or is that 6 a.m., but about the same time that I did that live. That's going to be coming up a little bit later, so look out for that. In terms of this video, let's get started. So with Google and Google Maps, everyone seems to think looking at a landscape like that, kind of in a one-dimensional sense, makes them know it, makes them familiar, as if looking at a person's face means you can read their mind. But the internet, like money, is only as good a tool as the user's mind allows it to be. The internet, like money, is only as good a tool as the standards of the person using it. I mean, right now people are seeing UFOs in the USA to such an extent that the White House is having to release statements saying there are no aliens in US airspace. In Britain, the authorities, but really Britain itself, can't find a woman who may have fallen into a river. The country can't even seem to decide whether it's okay to search the river where she was last seen. And then in the midst of this, you have articles like this one from The Guardian. It is an opinion piece, but it's an opinion on the police saying basically every British police force must learn from Lancashire's mistake. I think it's a mistake not to try to support the police in an ongoing investigation. Criticize by all means, but do it after the essential work has been done. Don't criticize them, don't pull the rug out under them while they're still trying to do their jobs. And what's interesting here is if you look at other cases, we seem to have the same lost in the woods, can't see the woods for the trees situation in other recent and current high-profile cases. When the 16-year-old Kylie Rodney disappeared in the Prosser Reservoir, this was in California, was it October, initial searches were in the wrong place because the map was wrong. The map they were looking at was wrong. They got the location of the party where she was last seen wrong. And so the initial searches were doomed. The map in the Delphi case, which is a 5-year-old case, almost 6 years old, was unclear about where exactly the crime was committed for several years. And the ongoing Summer Wells case is as confounding as it is because we still can't see into the woods or watercourses where she disappeared. And so this writer from The Guardian talks about echoes of what engulfed poor Madeleine McCann's family. And also this whole idea of when you can't find someone or justice doesn't happen, it's the fault of law enforcement. Let's sort of gravitate to that sort of area. Now, to reiterate, the priority now, Nicola's been missing 3 weeks. The priority should be to find Nicola. The priority should be to search for Nicola. Journalists like this one from The Guardian, who see and hear what she describes as echoes of what engulfed poor Madeleine McCann's family, selectively chooses not to see what the European Court of Human Rights, the highest court in Europe, actually found against the McCann family, and also seems to selectively not look at what happened to the police detective that lost his job and had his family situation going on because of the media blaming his family. And I could go through all of those despicable reports in the British media about boozing for several hours and the habits of that particular detective. Trash the detective whose job is to look for Madeleine McCann. And what do you think the chances there are of a successful outcome? Madeleine McCann is still missing more than 15 years later. But let's make the name of the game, let's blame law enforcement. The John Benet Ramsey case is unsolved, officially unsolved. 26 years later, let's continue blaming Boulder PD. Let's make that let's gravitate to just doing that over and over again. And I think it's that culture of trying to be on the right side of the blame game that allows lost things to remain lost, unsolved cases to remain unsolved. Jeepers! Acknowledge the thing that we don't know. Look for the thing that we can't find. Instead, we've got this competition about who's right and who knows best. There should be a competition to find Nicola instead. There should be a competition to admit what we don't know. We don't know where Nicola is. Stop blaming and start searching. As we saw in the Madeleine McCann case, stop taking your cues from suspects and from other journalists and blaming the investigators and start searching. That is if you want to find, right? Seek and ye shall find, blame and ye shall not. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.